Hey geometry team, this is Mrs. Cerna, and we are going to be going over the review for our Unit 10 test over surface area and volume. So to begin, we are starting off just going over how to do the volume and surface area of several three-dimensional figures. This formula chart is going to be available on your test, and it is what I'm going to be referencing throughout using this study guide. So for problem number 1, we are finding the volume of this shape, and before you find the volume or surface area, you should always identify your shape first. And so here we have a rectangular prism. And the way you know that is because you have two congruent rectangular parallel bases that are connected by rectangles. And so the rectangle bases tell you it's rectangular, and the fact that there's two of them tells you it's a prism. And so our formula for this, for its volume, is length times width times height. And so we go, okay, you can pick any of these letters to go with any of these dimensions because a box can be oriented in any way. So we'd have 8 times 14 times 23, which will work just as well as anything else. And so our volume here is going to be 2,576, and then don't leave it naked. This is in cubic inches since it is a volume. Volume always measures the number of cubes in something. For your surface area, you'll notice that the surface area formula for a rectangular prism here, you could use the general formula, but for a box, it's pretty easy to just say, oh, I've got 2 of the sides, 2 of the front and back, and then 2 of the top and bottom. So that's the formula I'm going to be using here. So my surface area, I will have 2 of the front, which would be something like length times width, and then 2 of the sides, which could be width times height, and then 2 of the back, which would be length times height. So let's just drop in some numbers here. So 2 length times width is going to give me 8 and 14. 2 width and height would be 18 and 23. And 2 length times height would be 14 and 23. And you know what, I may have gotten those slightly mixed up, but as long as I've got all 3 combinations of the numbers, we're good to go. And so my surface area is going to come out to be 1,236. And since it is an area, we're going to do it in square inches instead of cubic inches like we did for volume. Moving on. This shape here, I'm going to identify it. I've got a triangle in front and a triangle in back. I have 2 bases, so this is going to be a triangular prism. And so for this one, the volume of any prism is going to be the area of your base times your height. And since this is a triangle, to do that area of the base, I'm going to need to do 1/2 the base of the triangle times the height of the triangle. Let's come over into our picture now and identify all these parts. The 1/2 is just 1/2. The base of the triangle is going to be this 9. And then the height of the triangle is perpendicular to that base. That's why that right angle there is so important. And so that height is going to be 7.6. Then the height of the prism is the distance between these 2 bases. That's going to be this 13 feet. Even though it looks like it's running horizontally, that just means that your prism fell over. Height is just the distance between your bases, and so that's going to be that 13. And then plugging that all in all together, we end up getting something like 444.6, and then it will be cubic feet since it is a volume. For your surface area, you're going to have your height times your perimeter, which gives you the 3 rectangles around the outside. That's your lateral area, plus whatever the 2 bases are. So you go, okay, I know that the height of my prism is this 13 feet right here. And then the perimeter is going to be the perimeter of the base so that I get this rectangle, and this rectangle. So let's see, I've got 10 feet plus, and then along the bottom here I have 9 feet, and then this other side of my triangle is 8 feet. And so 10 plus 9 plus 8 is going to give me 27. Plus 2, and then the area of this base. Oh, well, we did this on the previous problem where we had our 1/2 9 times 7.6. And that was, when you work that out, that comes to be something like 34.2. But I'm just going to go ahead and put all my numbers in again so that you can see that I'm using the same thing. I have the area of the base just like I did over here. And so I still use 1/2 the base of the triangle and the height of the triangle. And then there's 2 of those because there's 2 bases to any prism. After this, it's just plugging everything into your calculator, and your surface area comes out to be 419.4 square feet. Next shape on the agenda, we have here, let's see, what's going on this guy? I've got, it looks like a trapezoid down here, and another trapezoid up here. And I'm going to notice that there are right angles drawn into this trapezoid. This is a right trapezoid. So I know then that the height and the bases are perpendicular to each other. So I don't have to figure out the height of this trapezoid. They gave it to me as one of the sides of my trapezoid. That's always handy to have. So I have a trapezoidal prism here. To find the volume then, it's still going to be the area of the base times the height. But now I need to use the area of the base formula for a trapezoid. And a trapezoid, it's going to be, you can either use the way the formula is written on your formula chart like this, or you can do base 1, base 2 added together divided by 2. I was going to use a different color for that. Base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2. And then that times the height of your trapezoid. Okay? On the formula chart, it just has the 1/2 pulled out to the side instead of being in here. So now I come through here and I drop all my numbers in. So the 2 bases of my trapezoid are the 2 parts that are parallel. So I have 19 plus the 24. That will be divided by 2. And then the height of my trapezoid is this 8. And I know it's the height, even though it's one of the sides, because it had the right angles here. And so I can use that as the height of my trapezoid. Now on the outside here, I need the height of my prism. That height is the distance between the 2 bases, and that's 21. And so plugging all these in here, my volume is going to come out to be 3,612, and then cubic meters for volume. For my surface area now, your surface area is always your lateral area plus your bases. And the lateral area is your height times your perimeter plus your 2 bases added on. And so my height of my prism is this 21. And then the perimeter, I need to figure out the perimeter around this trapezoid. So I know I've got 24 on the bottom. And then coming up along the side, I have 8. Along the top, I have 19. And down the other side, I have 11. And so altogether, this is going to come out to be 62. And so that's going to go in for my perimeter. Plus 2 times, and then, oh, I need area of my base again. The area of my base is still going to be this trapezoid information here, the area of this trapezoid. So that's my 19 plus my 24 divided by 2 times 8, whatever we got for that the first time. Then I type all this into my calculator, do a little bit of thinking and adding, and it comes out to be 1,646 square meters because it is only surface area, so area is in squares. Next one, number 18. Here I have a cylinder. And so for a cylinder, for my volume, I'm going to be still doing area of base times height, but I have a special formula for that since I know that the base is a circle. This area formula is pi r squared. And then you throw the height in there to make it volume. So here I'm going to put pi times my radius squared. Well, my radius is not on here. So I have to figure out that my radius is half this diameter that I have here. So my radius equals 7. So I'm going to drop 7 into my formula. And then the height of my cylinder is the distance between the bases, which is 18. Working all this out, and it doesn't matter if you use pi being 3.14 or if you come in here and use the handy dandy pi button on your calculator. It'll give you a different number of decimal places, maybe slightly different decimal at the end, but it's close enough. I don't care which one you use. I will tell you if I want something certain. You put all this in and you get 2770.88 cubic yards. For your surface area, again, it's going to be the area of the two bases plus the distance around. Now, and it was height times perimeter previously, but since my perimeter is the perimeter or circumference of a circle, I have it looking slightly different. So my bases are going to be 2 pi r squared, because that's the area of the base, and then I have 2 of them. Then for the lateral area around the outside of this, it's going to be 2 pi r, that's my circumference, times the height. So I've got these two formulas. This, again, is on your formula chart. And so you go in and you start looking for your information. My radius is still 7 that I figured out before. And then my height is 18. So now I've got the lateral area, the two bases areas here. And so my total comes out to be 1,099.56, and it will be square yards because it is area. Moving on, let's look at some pyramids now. Now I see that I have a single base here. There's not something parallel to it, and the sides are the same, so this is going to be a square. I was sticking with the same old boring color again. A square pyramid. Okay, so now I'm going to be looking at my pyramid formulas. So for my volume of a pyramid, my volume is always 1/3 the area of the base times the height. So go, okay, the area of my base, since this is a square, is going to be side squared, and then times the height of the pyramid. Now the height of the pyramid is always perpendicular to the base. So there's my height. And then the area here for side squared, I'm going to need to do 12 squared. And then my height was the 9.1. And so my volume is going to come out to be, let's see, type, 436.8 cubic centimeters. I wrote 1/2 and it was supposed to be 1/3. Mrs. Cerna, get a grip. Formula's supposed to stay the same the whole time. But you guys probably saw it before I did. You were probably screaming at the screen. Okay, so for your surface area, again, it's going to be your lateral area plus your base. And the lateral area of a pyramid is all these triangles. And so it will be 1/2 slant height times perimeter. And then we'll add on the area of that base. And so my surface area will be 1/2. I need my slant height, but I come in here and my slant height is supposed to, you know, slant up the side. And I don't see it on here. So I'm going to have to figure that one out. In order to figure it out, I'm going to draw the right triangle here and use my Pythagorean theorem. So since this entire base length is 12, my height is dropping down to the middle of this square, so I know that this length right here is 6. And I know the height there, and so I can do my formula 6 squared plus 9.1 squared equals c squared, and that will be my slant height. And so that is going to come out to be 118.81 as c squared. So then you have to square root both sides to get that my slant height here, c, is 10.9. So I can come and drop that in to my surface area formula now. P stands for the perimeter of the base, and so I have 12, 24, 36, 48 as the total perimeter of my base. So this is going to give me the area of all 4 of these triangles all at once. plus. Then the area of my base is going to be side squared, which will be 12 times 12, which is 144, just like we were getting right here. Therefore, my total surface area will come out to be 405.6 square centimeters. Moving on, this can be the hardest one to identify right here. So on the bottom here, I have a triangle, and I'm coming up to a point at the top. So this is going to be a triangular pyramid. And for this, I need to find my volume, which is, again, the same formula as it was for a square pyramid. It will be 1/3 area of the base times the height. And so I put in my 1/3. I know the area of the base needs to go in there, and my height should be perpendicular to my base, so my height is 11. Now I have to do that area of the base. To do this area of the base, I need to find its height and its base. Now, it appears that I have all of my sides on my triangle marked. This is an equilateral triangle. And so I can pick any of these as the base. And so it's going to be 1/2 base times height. And so my volume of my pyramid will be 1/3 times, and then I need to do my base. We said any of them could be the base. And then for my height, I need to be perpendicular to that base. And I don't have that number yet. I don't have that height. So I have to figure that part out. Okay? So to figure this out, I'm actually going to use my special right triangles from way back in the day. I'm going to remember, since this is an equilateral triangle, that all of its angles are 60 degrees. And so if this is 60 degrees and this is 30 degrees up here and this is 90 degrees, I know that I've got this length of 4 for my short side. And so my hypotenuse will be twice that, which is 8, which I already knew. And then my 60-degree side, so this height right here, is going to be my short side times the square root of 3. So this is going to be right here, 4√3. And if you've forgotten how to do that, remember you've got your chart that says if I have a right triangle that has a 30, 60, 90, then I'm going to have a short side. I'm going to have a side that's the short root 3, and I'm going to have a side that's 2 times my short. And I know that my short side here was 4. The hypotenuse, or the long side, was 8. And so this became 4√3. So I'm using my old information to figure stuff out. So my height right here is 4√3. And I'm not going to even bother figuring it out because my calculator can do that decimal when it multiplies everything in here. And so my volume then comes out to be something like 101.6 cubic meters. Now to do my surface area, for my surface area I'm going to use the same formula as before, so it will be 1/2 slant height times perimeter plus the area of the base. And so my surface area will be 1/2. I need my slant height and I need my perimeter. Well, I know the perimeter is 3 of these 8s, so it's going to be 24. Now I need my slant height. My slant height is running up here, and I know I wrote over it, but hopefully you can see it on yours. I gave you that slant height was 11.2. And then the area of that base is still this same number that I calculated with my volume, my 1/2 times 8 times 4√3. So I've got both of those numbers in here now, the slant height times perimeter and the area of my base. So my total surface area is going to come out to be 162.11 square meters. Moving on. Now I have a cone, which is nice and simple here. And so for our cone, we know that the formula for the volume of a cone is 1/3 pi r squared times height. And so I'm going to take 1/3 times pi. My radius is 9, which will get squared. And then the height of my cone is 14 inches. So conveniently, I gave you both of those numbers. And so now I can just drop that into my formula, and it comes out to be 1,187.52, and that will be in cubic inches, that's a 3, since I am doing volume. Now let's get into some fun. We're going to do some surface area. And the surface area is going to be the area of your base, which will be pi r squared, plus the area of this lateral part, the lateral surface area. And for a cone, which you can still check here, this lateral area is pi r times slant height. So I've got pi r times slant height. So I come in here and I start dropping stuff in. My radius is still 9. And then my radius here is 9. And now I need to find my, oh, I don't have a slant height here. So I'm going to have to calculate it. I have to calculate that slant height from the base up to that vertex. And so I know that my height is perpendicular, so I can use my Pythagorean theorem. I have 9 squared plus 14 squared will equal c squared. That's going to come out to be 277 is c squared. I square root both sides, and my slant height is going to come out to be 16.64 for this slant height right here. So that's what I'm going to come over here now and put into my formula. Now it's just the calculator's job to get all this figured out, and my surface area comes out to be 724.95 square inches since it's an area. Next we have a sphere. And so for my sphere, the volume formula is going to be 4/3 pi r cubed. And so my volume will be 4/3 pi, and oh, I don't have a radius, I just have a diameter. So if I cut the diameter in half, that's going to come out to be 11 for my radius. And so my volume turns out to be 5575.28, I can write, and these will be in cubic millimeters for my volume. For my surface area, my formula for the surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared. Remember, it's for the area of that great circle in there. And so I go, okay, 4 times pi times my radius was 11 squared. And my surface area comes out to be 1520.53 square millimeters, since this is a surface area. Our last one of this format, this time I have a hemisphere. And so to find the volume of a hemisphere, that's just going to be half the total area of a sphere. And conveniently, I have the formula right here. It's 2/3 pi r cubed. And so I'm going to put in my 2/3, my pi, my radius is 6.5, and that will get cubed. And so my volume comes out to be 575.17 cubic centimeters. For my surface area, I'm going to be using the formula. I'm going to be needing to figure out, okay, I need my lateral area, and then I need this flat area here on top. And so I know that the total surface area was 4 pi r squared. So half the surface area would be 2 pi r squared, plus the additional circle here comes out to be 3 pi r squared, which, yes, is given to you here on your formula chart, but it comes from the idea that you're taking half the surface area of your total sphere, so half of 4 is 2, and then the area of this one great circle, so 1 pi r squared plus the 2 pi r squared gives you 3 pi r squared. And so my total surface area is going to be 3 pi times 6.5 squared, and the total for that is 398.2 square centimeters for your surface area. Okay, now we have some composite figures. So for this composite figure, I have a triangular prism here on top, And then on bottom, it can be kind of hard to see, but I have a rectangular pyramid coming down here. And so we get to figure out which one of these we want to do first. I think I will do the prism first. So my first part, I'm going to do the prism. And so for the prism, that volume is going to be the area of the base times the height. And so I need to do the area of my base, which will be this triangle here on the end, times the height of my prism, which is 21. Now I'm going to focus in on this base. It is a right triangle, and I know that its base is 9, so I need to figure out its height. And so I have the hypotenuse is 15, and so I can do 9 squared plus b squared equals 15 squared to get this missing side here. And so this will come out to be b squared equals 144, and square root both sides, and it comes out to be 12 for that. So I'll have 1/2, the base is 12, and the height will be 9. And it doesn't matter which one you use for base and height as long as they are perpendicular to each other. Okay, so I have all that in there. Now I can just plug and crank here. This is going to end up being 54 times that 21, and so my total volume is 1,134, which would be in cubic kilometers. I can write what I am saying. Now I need to do a second one. Now I need to do that pyramid on the bottom. And the volume of a pyramid is 1/3 the area of the base times the height. And so for this, I'm going to need to do 1/3 area of the base times the height of this pyramid down here. And for this pyramid, let's see, its base is this rectangle here. And let's see, I'm trying to see all these teeny tiny numbers here. So 1/3, the area of this base is length times width. And then I'll multiply times the height. And so the length is 9. The width here is 21. And then the height of the pyramid, oh, I don't see a height anywhere. I am going to have to figure this out as well. So I need to figure out the direct up and down height of this pyramid. And so what I've got is I'm going to draw it separately. I have this height I'm trying to find. I have that, does it tell me? And so this height right here, I don't know. I know this distance across is half the distance across my rectangle. So half of 21 is 10.5. And the slant height here okay, I lied. It turns out that this picture did not show me something, and that this height right here is actually supposed to be 7. And the way I can figure that out is because that I know this whole height here from top to bottom is 19. Okay? And since I knew that this height right here was 12, then this remaining height from here down for the pyramid had to be 7. And so I was trying to calculate something from the wrong thing. I needed to use this number right here. So I have 7 now is the height of this pyramid, which I can plug in over here. Mrs. Cerna trying to make things hard for everybody when it didn't need to be. And so now I can plug in all my numbers, and the volume here comes out to be 441 cubic kilometers. So that's the volume of my two separate pieces. Now I need to add those together to get my total volume, which is going to end up being 1,575 cubic kilometers. And I apologize if I totally confused you on that one with this whole height thing here. Number 31. Turn my page here. Here we go. So now I need to find the surface area of this figure. Okay? And so in order to do this, I need to figure out which parts of this figure I have in my surface area. I have the lateral area of a pyramid. I have a base of a cylinder. I have the lateral area of the cylinder. And then I have part of this base. This one, I'm going to have my larger circle, and then I'm going to have to take away the smaller one in order to figure out the area of this top part. And so I need to just figure out all my pieces separately and then assemble them into my total surface area of my figure. And so to start off with, the surface area, the lateral surface area of a cone right here. So I'm going to start with that first. The lateral surface area of a cone is going to be pi r times slant height. And so that lateral area is going to be pi times the radius of this circle. Okay? Well, if I know that the total distance across is 20, and then I have 3 feet here and 3 feet here, that means that this shorter diameter here is going to be 14. And that gives me a smaller radius of 7. Then my slant height is 8. And so I can take these two pieces now and go, okay, pi times 7 times 8, this lateral area is whatever 56 times pi is. And this one I actually didn't calculate ahead of time. So let's see, 56 times pi comes out to be 175.9. So there's the lateral area of my cone. Now the second thing I'm going to find is this lateral area of my cylinder. And so the lateral area of a cylinder is going to be using the formula 2 pi r times the height. And so my lateral area will be 2 times pi. Now I need the radius of the big circle for this cylinder. And so its radius is 10. So I'm going to use 10, and the height is 6. And so this lateral area comes out to be 2 times pi times 10 times 6, which is 376.99. The third piece I need is going to be this bottom base. And so the area of this base is a circle, so it will be pi r squared. And so the area will be pi times 10 squared, which will be 100 times pi, which is 314.2. Lastly, I need to do this area on top, and the only part that's showing is this kind of flat donut-shaped ring. That is going to be, I'm going to switch colors here to help myself out. This one's going to be a large circle minus the smaller circle. So it's going to be pi r squared minus a different, switch colors here, pi r squared. So the big one minus the small one. So for this guy, I'm going to have pi times my large radius is 10 squared minus pi times my smaller radius is 7 squared. And so my total area for my top here will be 100, why did I write that? It will be 100 pi minus 49 pi, which, let's see, 100 pi minus 49 pi comes out to be about 160.2. And so now I have all 4 surfaces of my shape figured out. And all I need to do is add all those together to get my total surface area, which is going to come out to be approximately 1027.3 square feet. And your mileage may vary. You may have slightly different rounding from the different pies, but if you're right in this neighborhood, you'll know that you did it correctly. Part 2 coming soon. Thank you very much.